Close your eyes for a moment and imagine stepping into a smoky nightclub somewhere in the early 1950s. The lights are low, glasses clink softly on small round tables, and the air is thick with anticipation. People are laughing, musicians are warming up quietly in the corner, and everyone in the room feels like something interesting might happen tonight, even if they can't quite explain why. Now picture a man walking in through the side door. He's relaxed, almost too relaxed for someone who has become one of the most recognizable voices in America. He doesn't rush. He doesn't look like he's trying to impress anyone. In fact, he almost looks like he wandered in by accident. That man is Dean Martin. But tonight isn't just another performance. Tonight someone else is in the room. Someone whose name carries just as much weight. Someone audiences compare him to constantly. Someone critics love to put on the opposite side of the ring whenever they talk about the greatest singers of the era. Tonight, Dean Martin is about to meet his biggest rival. Before we talk about what happened, let me ask you something. Have you ever watched two incredible talents come face to face for the first time? Not in a hostile way, not necessarily in a dramatic showdown, but in that quiet moment where two people who dominate the same world suddenly share the same space. It's fascinating, isn't it? Because everyone watching wonders the same thing. Will there be tension, competition, respect, or something completely unexpected? Dean Martin's career had already taken off in a way that very few singers ever experience. His smooth voice, his effortless charm, and his ability to make singing look almost too easy had turned him into a star. Audiences adored him. His records sold everywhere. Radio stations played his songs constantly. But success brings comparisons, and comparisons create rivals. For years, fans and critics debated endlessly about which singer truly owned the stage. Some believed Dean Martin's relaxed style made him unbeatable. Others argued that his rival possessed a deeper emotional intensity. Magazines printed articles comparing their voices. Radio hosts sparked debates. Fans argued about it at dinner tables, in bars, and on street corners. You can probably imagine how that kind of rivalry builds up over time. Two legends, one spotlight, and an audience eager to decide who stands taller. So when word spread that both men might end up in the same room one night, curiosity exploded. Would they avoid each other? Would they compete? Or would something entirely different happen? The nightclub buzzed with rumors even before Dean Martin arrived. Some people claimed they had already seen the rival sitting quietly near the stage. Others insisted it was just gossip. But then Dean walked in, calm, confident, unbothered. If he knew what everyone was whispering about, he didn't show it. Dean Martin had always carried himself with a kind of effortless cool that seemed impossible to shake. While other performers worried about image, perfection, and public perception, Dean often appeared like he was simply enjoying the ride. That attitude made audiences love him even more, and it also made his rivals wonder how he did it. Because maintaining that level of calm while living under constant public scrutiny is harder than most people realize. Dean greeted a few friends, laughed with a bartender, and took a seat at a small table. The band began playing softly in the background, and somewhere in the room sat the man everyone had been talking about, the rival. Now here's where the story becomes interesting. For years, the public imagined these two singers as competitors, locked in some invisible battle. The media loved that narrative. It made headlines more exciting. But what people often forget is that the artists themselves don't always feel the same way. Behind the scenes, the music world is smaller than it looks. Singers meet each other, they watch each other perform, they respect the discipline it takes to succeed. And sometimes the rivalry that fans imagine turns out to be something very different in reality. Eventually, someone leaned toward Dean Martin and whispered something in his ear. 3 words changed the entire mood at the table. "He's here tonight." Dean didn't react dramatically. He simply smiled. Then he glanced across the room. And there he was, his biggest rival, sitting only a few tables away. Now imagine being in that room for a second. Imagine seeing both men at the same time, two voices that had defined an entire era of music, two performers who filled theaters and dominated radio, two personalities audiences loved to compare, and suddenly they were only a few steps apart. The band finished a song. Applause filled the room. The moment felt suspended in time. Dean Martin stood up. Some people expected him to leave. Others thought he might ignore the situation completely. Instead, he did something that surprised almost everyone watching. He walked straight toward his rival, step by step. The room grew quieter, not silent, but quieter, because everyone sensed that something unforgettable was about to happen. The rival looked up as Dean approached. For a second, neither man spoke, and that tiny pause felt enormous. If you've ever watched two legendary figures meet for the first time, you know exactly what that moment feels like. It's like history holding its breath. Then Dean Martin smiled, not a polite smile, a genuine one, and he extended his hand. Just like that. No tension, no hostility, just respect. The rival laughed softly and shook his hand. The room relaxed instantly. People who expected drama suddenly realized they were witnessing something far more interesting: mutual admiration. They began talking like two old friends who understood something the rest of the world didn't. They talked about touring, about long nights on stage, about audiences in different cities, about the strange pressure of fame. If you've ever worked in the same field as someone who is considered your competitor, you might understand this moment better than anyone, because sometimes the person who understands your journey the most is the one walking the same path. That night, the two singers shared stories that few others in the room could truly relate to. They knew what it felt like to stand under blinding stage lights. They knew what it felt like to perform in front of thousands of people while hiding exhaustion behind a smile. They knew what it felt like when critics praised one performance and attacked the next. Those experiences create a kind of quiet bond. Eventually, someone nearby joked that the audience deserved to hear them sing together. People laughed, but the idea lingered in the air. Would they actually do it? Could you imagine hearing two legendary voices share the same stage without rehearsal? The band leader overheard the conversation, and musicians, as you might guess, are always ready for something unexpected. A microphone appeared. The crowd leaned forward. Dean Martin glanced at his rival. The rival raised an eyebrow, and suddenly the entire room understood what was about to happen. They were going to sing. No script, no rehearsal, just two artists stepping into the unknown. Dean Martin began the first line, smooth, relaxed, exactly the way audiences loved him. Then his rival answered with the next line. Different tone, different texture, but equally powerful. The contrast between their voices created something magical. One voice carried warmth and ease, the other carried dramatic intensity. Together they sounded incredible. The room erupted in applause before the song even finished. People realized they weren't witnessing a rivalry. They were witnessing a collaboration. A moment where two artists set aside public expectations and simply enjoyed the music. The performance wasn't perfect. There were small improvisations, unexpected harmonies, even a few playful glances between them. But that's what made it unforgettable. Because it felt real. It felt spontaneous. It felt human. And when the final note faded, the crowd stood up. Not just clapping, cheering. The two singers laughed, shook hands again, and raised their glasses together. Just like that, the rivalry everyone talked about seemed smaller than it had ever appeared in headlines. Instead of competing, they had created something memorable together. And maybe that's the real lesson hidden inside this story. Sometimes the rival you expect to clash with ends up becoming someone you respect even more. Sometimes competition pushes artists to improve, to grow, to reach new heights. But sometimes it also reminds them that they share the same love for the craft. Dean Martin understood that. He never let comparisons define him. He simply focused on doing what he loved. And that night proved something important to everyone watching. Great artists don't always need to compete. Sometimes they just need a stage. Now I want to ask you something. If you could witness one moment in music history live, one unexpected meeting between two legendary performers, who would you choose? Would you want to see two rivals face off? Or would you want to see them create something unforgettable together? Let me know your answer in the comments because I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoy stories like this, the hidden moments behind legendary voices and unforgettable performances, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Hit that subscribe button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and tell me which music story you want us to explore next. Because the world of music is full of incredible moments, and we're just getting started discovering them together.